Mom cheated on Dad. She took us at night. We went to Dad's. She screwed the word bitch on the hood of the car. Then a fight, the police. And in the end, a divorce. Before watching the video, I ask you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and write any comment. The most interesting comment will be included in the next videos. Thank you to each of you. Enjoy watching. I'm Alex, 16 years old, male, and I can still hear that car alarm in my head like it's a song that never stops playing. Here's what went down. My mom, Claire, 41, has always been unpredictable. She could go from laughing with us over burnt pancakes to screaming at my dad about the way he chewed his food in under 30 seconds. It was like living with a thunderstorm. You never knew when the lightning would hit, but you knew it was coming. My dad, Mark, 43, was the opposite. Quiet, calm, the type who fixed things instead of yelling about them. He'd disappear into the garage for hours, tinkering with broken radios or old bikes. Sometimes I think it was just to get away from her. When I was younger, I thought that balance worked. They were opposites, so maybe that's why they stayed together. But by the time I hit high school, the cracks were everywhere. The cheating didn't come out all at once. I overheard her on the phone first, laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years, whispering. My stomach knew before my brain did. Dad must have known, too, but he never confronted her in front of us. When he finally did, it was explosive. I only caught pieces through the walls, words like betrayal and don't touch me, and then the sound of something breaking. That night he packed a bag and left. He said he was staying with a friend for a while. I thought maybe that was temporary. I wanted it to be temporary, but Mom, she didn't take it like a normal person. She wasn't sad. She was pissed, like his leaving was a personal insult. And when she's pissed, she acts. Doesn't matter how reckless, how cruel. It's like she has to do something, no matter the cost. That's how we ended up in the car that night. It was around 2 a.m. when she barged into our rooms, snapping her fingers, telling me and my siblings, Evan, 13, and Lily, 9, to get up now. Her voice had that sharp edge I knew better than to argue with. We climbed into the car in our pajamas, confused, shivering. She didn't explain, just drove fast, eyes wide, mouth tight. The kind of silence that's louder than words. Then we pulled up to this small apartment complex. Dad's car was parked out front, familiar and sad under a flickering streetlight. I thought maybe she brought us there to talk to him, maybe to fix things. But no. She got out without a word, dug her nails into her purse, pulled out a key. Not for the door, an actual key. She started scratching the word bitch into the hood of Dad's car. Hard. The sound was awful, metal screaming. Then the alarm exploded into the night, blaring, echoing off the buildings. My little sister started crying. Evan just stared, frozen. That's when Dad came running out barefoot in a t-shirt. His face dropped when he saw us sitting there in the back seat, and then it got worse. Mom lunged at him, hitting his chest, clawing at his arms. He grabbed her wrists, begging her to stop, but she just kept thrashing, screaming that he ruined everything. Neighbors came out. Someone called the cops. And we just sat there in the car, watching it all happen like a nightmare we couldn't wake up from. When the police finally pulled up, they cuffed her. Dad was bleeding from a scratch on his face, standing there like a ghost. The officers shined a flashlight into the car and found us huddled together. I'll never forget that look. The pity in his eyes, like he'd just opened a door to hell. Dad didn't press charges. He said he didn't want us to watch our mom get arrested. But the damage was already done. That was the night everything broke for good. The morning after the cops showed up feels like it's burned into my memory. I don't think any of us kids really slept. Evan kept pacing in our room, mumbling that he should have tried to stop Mom, that maybe Dad wouldn't hate us now. Lily crawled into my bed and clung to me so tight my arm went numb. She was only 9, and she kept whispering, "Is Mommy going to jail forever?" Dad came by the next afternoon, not to the house. He refused to step foot back inside, but he parked out front and texted me to bring Evan and Lily outside. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept either. His cheek was raw from where Mom scratched him, his shirt wrinkled, and his eyes... God, his eyes were empty. He crouched down in front of Lily first, trying to smile. "Mom's not going to jail," he told her softly. "I made sure of that. She's going to have to get help." His voice cracked a little on that last word, and I knew he didn't believe it. Evan blurted out, "Why didn't you arrest her? She hit you. She called you names. He stopped himself, but we all knew what he meant. She dragged us into it. Dad sighed, rubbed the back of his neck, and said, "Because you don't need to see your mom in handcuffs again. That's not your burden. It's mine." That's when Mom stormed out of the house barefoot, still in the same sweatpants she'd worn the night before. Her hair was wild, and she was gripping a mug of coffee like it was a weapon. "So now you're the hero, huh?" she sneered at Dad. "Running to my kids, making me look like the monster?" Dad straightened, shielding us with his body. "Claire, stop, please, for them." But Mom didn't stop. She never stopped. She shouted about how he abandoned us, how he ran to another woman's apartment the second she looked away. She twisted everything, turned her cheating into his betrayal like she was the victim. Neighbors were starting to peek through blinds. Lily started crying again. I couldn't take it. I snapped, "Mom, we were in the car! We saw everything you did! Stop blaming Dad!" That shut her up for half a second. She blinked, her face twisting into something darker, meaner. She pointed her mug at me like a dagger and said, "Don't you dare take his side! You're my son!" That's when I realized she wasn't just angry at Dad. She was angry at us. Angry that we saw her without the mask. The divorce papers came a week later. Dad didn't even tell her face to face. He had them delivered by a lawyer. Mom ripped them up on the kitchen counter, threw the pieces at us like confetti, and said, "Your father's trying to erase me. But he can't. He can't erase us." The way she said it sent a chill down my spine. Because in her mind, we weren't just kids anymore, we were pawns. And that's when things really started to spiral. After the divorce papers showed up, it felt like the walls of our house started closing in. Dad officially moved into that friend's apartment across town, and suddenly every room in our house felt too big and too empty at the same time. Claire, Mom, wasn't just angry anymore, she was volatile. She'd swing between crying on the couch with wine stains on her shirt, begging us to believe Dad had brainwashed us, to standing in the kitchen screaming that we were ungrateful traitors for even talking about him. It wasn't just inside the house either. She made sure everyone around us knew her version of the story. At the grocery store, she'd raise her voice in the checkout line about how Mark abandoned his family for some slut. At school pickup, she'd corner other parents, whispering about how he left his children to rot. It was like she was running a campaign to ruin him, and we were the unwilling flyers she kept handing out. The first real escalation happened 2 weeks later. Des had invited us to spend Saturday at his friend's apartment. He tried so hard. He ordered pizza, rented movies, even bought Lily a stuffed unicorn that looked way too expensive for a guy suddenly living on half his income. For a few hours it felt normal, like maybe we could breathe again, until Mom showed up. She banged on the door so hard the neighbors came out. When Dad finally opened it, she shoved past him, grabbed Lily's wrist, and yanked her toward the hallway. "We're going home!" she spat, like Dad was some stranger trying to steal us. Lily screamed. Evan shouted at her to stop. Dad stepped between them, his hands out like he was trying to calm a wild animal. "Claire, you can't just storm in here. They're allowed to see me. We agreed." "I didn't agree to this," she snapped. Then she turned to me. "Alex, tell your siblings to come with me, now." And in that moment I froze, because a part of me wanted to go. Wanted to do whatever it took to make the fighting stop. But then I saw Dad's face. He looked destroyed. Like if we walked out that door, it wouldn't just be losing custody, it would be losing us. So I said, "No." Just that. One word. Mom's face twisted, her lips curling like she'd been slapped. "Fine," she hissed. "Stay here with your coward father, but don't come crying to me when he chooses her over you, too." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Lily was sobbing, Dad was pale as a sheet, and Evan was shaking with rage. That night I lay awake thinking about how Mom looked at me when I said no, like I wasn't her son anymore, like I was the enemy. And I knew things weren't even close to being over. After that day at Dad's apartment, everything turned into a custody war, but not in the courtroom, in our daily lives. Claire wasn't just unstable, she was strategic in a scary way. She knew how to twist things so that every move Dad made looked like proof of betrayal. And she didn't care if she burned us down in the process. The first battleground was school. She started showing up unannounced. Lunchtime, pickup, even during class hours. She'd corner me in the hallway, demanding to know if Dad had introduced us to his new girlfriend yet, and there wasn't one. Evan got pulled out of math class once because she wanted him to back her up on some story she was spinning to the principal about Dad being unsafe. Lily's teacher even called Dad to say Claire had been hanging around the playground during recess, trying to pump Lily for details about where he was living. Dad tried to stay calm, but I could see it breaking him. Every time he came to pick us up, he scanned the parking lot first, shoulders tense, like he was bracing for her to leap out. And she always did. The worst was the Saturday soccer game. Lily had been begging both of them to come watch, so Dad and Mom ended up on opposite sides of the field. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd keep it civil for her sake. For once. Nope. When the game ended, Lily ran to hug Dad first. Claire lost it. She stormed across the field in front of everyone, parents, kids, coaches, and started screaming about how Mark was turning her children against her. Dad tried to walk her away from the crowd, but she slapped the Gatorade cooler so hard it toppled over, orange liquid splashing everywhere. Lily burst into tears. Evan tried to shield her with his jacket. I just stood there numb, while Claire shrieked, "You'll regret this, Mark! I'll make sure of it!" That night she locked herself in her bedroom with a bottle of wine and blasted music loud enough to shake the walls. At 2 a.m. she barged into my room, eyes glassy, mascara smeared. She sat on my bed and whispered, "You're the oldest. You're supposed to be on my side. Don't you see what he's doing to us?" I wanted to scream at her, to tell her that she was the one destroying us. But Lily was curled up in the next bed, pretending to be asleep, and Evan was in the doorway, fists clenched like he was ready to fight her himself. So I just said, "I see what you're doing, Mom, and it has to stop." She stared at me for a long, terrifying moment, then stood up muttering, "You'll regret choosing him." It felt less like a threat and more like a promise. And I think that's when I realized we weren't kids stuck in their fight anymore. We were part of the war. Update. I didn't expect so many people to care when I posted. Some of y'all told me to call CPS. Some said to just move in with Dad. And one person DM'd me saying I should burn the house down and go no contact forever. Relax, I'm not starting fires. Though the idea of a clean slate was tempting for about 5 minutes. What really hit me were the comments about how it wasn't my job to parent my siblings. I've been carrying that weight for so long, I didn't even realize it was crushing me. But here's the thing. I can't just walk away from Evan and Lily. Not when Mom's spiraling. Not when Dad's doing his best, but stretched thin. So yeah, maybe I can't fix her. But I can damn well make sure she doesn't keep dragging us down with her. And that's where the revenge part starts. It happened the night of the custody hearing prep. Dad had asked us to write letters about who we wanted to live with. Simple, right? But when Claire found out, she flipped. She came into the living room waving a wine glass and shouting, "So now you're going to write essays about how much you hate me." She knocked over the lamp. Glass shattering, light bulb fizzing out. Lily screamed. That's when it clicked for me. She hated the idea of the truth being written down. Words she couldn't twist or scream over. So I decided to use that. I started keeping a notebook. Every outburst, every middle-of-the-night screaming match, every time she yanked Lily's arm too hard or showed up at school drunk, and I wrote it down. Dates, times, details. Evan started helping, adding his own entries. Even Lily drew little sad faces on the days Mom scared her. It wasn't just notes. I started recording too. Voice memos on my phone of her calling Dad a coward in the parking lot. Videos of her throwing things in the kitchen. Once, she grabbed my phone mid-recording and screamed at me, "You think you're smart? You think you can trap me?" She didn't realize the mic caught every word. The final straw came a week later. She tried to crash another visit at Dad's apartment. When he blocked her, she screamed in the parking lot until neighbors came out filming. For once, I didn't feel embarrassed. I felt vindicated. Proof. That night I printed out everything. Pages of the notebook, screenshots of recordings backed up to the cloud, even Lily's drawings. I slid them into a folder and handed it to Dad. His hands were shaking when he opened it. "Alex, what is this?" "Our truth," I said, "so she can't twist it anymore." For the first time in months, I saw relief in his face. Not happiness, not victory, just relief. Mom wanted a war? Fine. We were done playing defense. The folder changed everything. When Dad showed it to his lawyer, she didn't even blink before saying, "This is gold." "Court doesn't like it," she said. "But documented patterns, time stamps, audio, that's concrete." The custody hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. Claire strutted in wearing this bright red blazer like she was walking into a job interview. Chin high, fake smile plastered on. She thought she could charm her way through it, just like she always had. But then Dad's lawyer pulled out the folder. First came the notebook entries. Dates lined up with school calls, neighbor complaints, even hospital records where Lily had been taken in once for a sprained wrist. Then came the audio. Claire's voice crystal clear. "You think you can trap me? You think you can make me look like the crazy one?" Hearing it echo in that silent courtroom was like watching a bomb drop. Claire went pale. Her smile cracked. When Lily's drawing came up, just a stick figure of a girl with tears under the words, "Mom yelled today." Dad's lawyer slid it across the table. Claire snapped. She lunged forward, snatching it up, and shouted, "That's not evidence! That's manipulation! He's brainwashing them!" The judge banged the gavel, ordering her to sit down. She refused at first, still clutching Lily's paper, until a bailiff stepped closer. Then she collapsed into her chair, muttering about betrayal, about how everyone was against her. For once, nobody listened. By the end of the hearing, the judge awarded Dad primary custody. Claire got visitation rights, but supervised. Someone else would be present. She couldn't just show up at our schools anymore, couldn't yank us out of Dad's apartment in the middle of the night. It was over. At least legally. Walking out of that courtroom, I felt taller somehow. Not because I won, but because for the first time she lost. And not just against Dad. Against me, Evan and Lily. Against her own kids who finally refused to play along. But the sweet part wasn't the custody papers. It was what happened outside, in the courthouse parking lot. A crowd had gathered because Claire's screaming inside had drawn attention. When she stormed out after us, red blazer hanging crooked, people stared. Phones were out. She tried to spin it, shouting, "He's stealing my children! They're lying about me!" But nobody bought it. They'd heard enough through the walls. A woman with a toddler muttered, "Disgusting!" Loud enough for Claire to hear. For once, she wasn't the one controlling the narrative. She was exposed. That was the revenge. Not just beating her in court, but watching her unravel in front of strangers who finally saw what we'd lived with for years. Update. I didn't expect my last post to blow up like that. Some of y'all are calling me the teenage lawyer. Others said I was parentified AF. And one dude just wrote, "Alex, you're Batman now." Honestly, I'll take it. Batman didn't have a mom either. Seriously though, thank you. A lot of you said you were proud of me for documenting everything, and I can't explain how much that means. Because for years, Claire made me feel like I was crazy, like maybe I was the problem. Having strangers say, "No, she's unstable and you're protecting your siblings," hit me hard. But here's the thing. Winning in court didn't end it. If anything, it just lit a new fire in her. The first supervised visit was at this neutral center, basically a room with couches, toys, and a social worker watching. Lily was nervous but agreed to go because she missed Mom. Evan refused outright, said he'd rather eat glass. I went to support Lily. Claire walked in like nothing happened. Big smile, arms wide. "My baby girl," she sang out, crouching to hug Lily. For a second, Lily melted into it, because she's 9 and still wants her mom. But then Claire looked over her shoulder at me, smile twisting. "And you!" she hissed low enough that the worker didn't hear. "You did this to me." I just stared back, because yeah, I did. The visit was awkward. Claire kept trying to get Lily to say she wanted to come home. "Don't you miss our house? Don't you hate living in that dingy apartment with Daddy?" The worker finally intervened, reminding her the visit was supposed to be child-focused. Claire laughed it off, but her eyes never left me. When it ended, she leaned in as Lily hugged her goodbye. Her voice was honey-sweet for Lily, but her eyes locked on mine. "You'll regret this, Alex. You'll see what happens when you turn on your own mother." That night, Dad found our trash can tipped over, papers shredded, our mailbox bent. It was small stuff at first, easy to brush off as coincidence. But Evan caught our car circling our block one night, headlights off. And I realized Claire might have lost in court, but she wasn't done fighting us, not by a long shot. The threats weren't idle. Claire always escalated when cornered, and losing us in court must have felt like the ultimate betrayal. It happened on a Friday night. Dad had picked us up from school, and we were settling into a small apartment, pizza boxes on the counter, Evan playing Xbox, Lily drawing on the floor. For a few hours it felt like a family again, normal, safe. Then the banging started, hard, frantic fists slamming against the apartment door. We froze. Dad's face went white before he even opened it. When he did, Claire shoved her way in, eyes wild, hair tangled, shouting, "You turned my children against me! You ruined everything!" She went straight for Dad, clawing at his chest. He tried to restrain her, but she swung wildly, knocking a lamp off the table, sending glass everywhere. Lily screamed and hid under her blanket. Evan stood in front of her like a shield, shaking with rage, but too small to stop her. Something in me snapped. I grabbed my phone, hit record, and shouted over her screams, "Stop! You're proving everything we said about you! You're proving you don't care about us, only about control!" She froze mid-swing, chest heaving, eyes darting between me, the glowing red record button, and the kids huddled behind me. For the first time, she looked small, exposed. Neighbors were already in the hallway peering in. Someone called the cops again. This time, when they showed up, Dad didn't stop them. Claire was cuffed right there in front of us, screaming our names like some twisted prayer. "Alex, Evan, Lily, you're mine! You'll come back! You'll regret this!" But none of us moved. We just watched as they led her away, her voice echoing down the stairwell until it was gone. The apartment was silent afterward. Lily cried into Dad's shirt. Evan punched the wall until his knuckles bled. I just stood there, recording still running, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. Dad finally put a hand on my shoulder and whispered, "You saved us." That was 6 months ago. Claire's visitation rights were suspended indefinitely after that night. She tried calling, writing letters, but we didn't respond. The silence feels heavy, but safe. Evan's anger is slowly softening. He cracks jokes again. Lily sleeps through the night without waking up screaming. And me? I'm just trying to be a kid again, though part of me feels like that role got burned out of me a long time ago. Sometimes, late at night, I replay the videos, not to torture myself, but to remind myself we weren't crazy, that it happened, that we survived. The sweetest revenge wasn't just the court win or the neighbors finally seeing her for who she was. It's this. Sitting in Dad's apartment, eating cold pizza, watching Lily draw unicorns while Evan laughs at a game. We're not trophies in our war anymore. We're just kids, and that's enough. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and like it. You can also watch more shocking stories in the playlist.